If all of a sudden COVID happens and you have to shut down everything you normally do, how are you going to attack that problem? You have to train for and pressure test your business so that when you hit the fire, you're not having a reaction, but you just go back to the processes you put in place so that you can move forward in a positive way.
Everyone wants to leave a legacy of positivity in the world around them. Whether you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, a nonprofit executive director, or even a soon-to-be entrepreneur, one fact is always true. The easiest and most effective way to catalyze change in the world around you is through commerce and through business. But how do you do it? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Changemakers Collective, a place where people can come and get educated and encouraged and empowered to be the impact agent in the world around them. Brought to you by Silverback Ventures, Steph Thomas and Scott Woods have over 50 years combined experience helping companies and owners amplify the voice and multiply the impact of purpose-driven businesses. Join us each week as we discuss what it means to live a life of purpose on purpose.
Hey, welcome back to the Changemakers Collective. We are so grateful that you've chosen to join us either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube. I'm Scott.
I'm Steph.
And we want to talk to you about how to go about your business when you feel like you're in the middle of a hurricane. What do you do when you're in the middle of the storm? Everything around you is going crazy, and you have to be able to still manage your business.
Scott, let's talk about that. It's not an if, it's when. So whether you are growing or administration may change or product change happens, there's going to be a hurricane at some point in your career unless you just, I don't know.
Well, if there's
fabulous.
not, then you're not doing you're not doing anything, right? I mean, one of the reasons I originally got into the consulting world and the fractional leadership world was that my brother had an issue when he was 30 years old, had started his own business. My sister-in-law called and said, hey, Pat's in the hospital thinking he's having a heart attack and he's 30. And it was all about the overwhelming pressure and stress and anxiety about running a business, and he couldn't get out from under it. There was this overwhelming weight. And I think the vast majority of people think about owning your own business is all, I don't have to work and I can get paid a lot of money and I can hang out and go to the beach.
Breaks.
Yeah, it's fantastic. When the reality is it's really, really hard. I say to people all the time, owning your own business is, other than having a child, the most exciting and the most difficult thing, but also the most rewarding thing you'll ever do. If you do it right. But there is a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of storms that occur. You are the single point of failure almost always in your business. So how do you manage and how do you get around the everything's a fire to get into running your business in a systematic, process-driven way?
You said that, and it reminded me several years ago when we first started this, and Christina Lee from Paradigm 360 said, hey, listen, are you ready for this? And I was like, well, what are you talking about? And she was like, well, first of all, while everyone else is asleep, you're awake trying to figure it out. Second of all, it's feast or famine sometimes. And what are you doing today to take care of the hurricane tomorrow? And I thought, it's going to be great. But exactly what you said. I mean, people don't realize it's so rewarding, but man, there's a lot of pressure.
Well, and it's all the things you don't want to deal with that still pop themselves up. Like, it is not uncommon last week where all of a sudden there's a family emergency and you have to drop everything and be gone.
Right.
Well, there's still work that has to happen. And what happens when you're the single point of failure within inside your business? If you are early on and, in a gig economy that we live in where everybody wants to start their business and have a little side hustle, if you want to turn that into something, you have got to build in margin so that you can work, as you always say, on the business in addition to working in the business.
So let's talk about this for a second. We are big, have a vision, people. And for anybody that's listened to us more than once, you know that a vision statement or the vision of your company, what problem are you trying to solve, is not a cute statement that you put in a drawer.
True.
So when things are going crazy, are you still marching to the tune of your vision statement? Second, did you sit down and make true core values? So your core values when you're in the hurricane is really what shows up. Who you are, how your business is ran in the hurricane is very clear.
Yeah, stress reveals character, right? I mean, and you have that from your individual standpoint all the way up to your business because, I don't know, you bring you with you everywhere you go. So if you are a naturally anxious person, you have to recognize that and have the self-awareness enough to say, I've got to figure out a system so when it all hits the fan, I'm not going to completely shut down and my business is going to just flounder for that period of time.
We know when stress, pressures, mindsets, you people are in a fight or flight mentality, you just don't make the right decisions in those situations, right?
Yes. Oh, that's very true. Yes. Your immediate reaction is, to use a military term, your immediate 3-foot circle. You cannot see beyond what, your next immediate action is.
So let's talk about that for a second. When we were, preparing, we were talking about the firefighters. Let's talk through that.
Yeah, it's so interesting when we talk to entrepreneurs and we talk to even seasoned leaders. Very often you say, "Hey, how's it going?" "Man, I'm fighting fires every day." And it's just, I'm all I feel like I'm doing is fighting fires. What's interesting about that statement is if you think about how firefighters actually fight physical fires, it is very systematic. They are trained to go into the fire, into the most stressful situation, and they know their job, they know their role, they know what success looks like, and they fight a fire the same way most of the time. And, there's different scenarios. If it's a brush fire or if it's a house fire, you're attacking them different ways. But if you actually attacked your business problem the same way firefighters attacked fires, it's repeated, it's trained for. And I think that's the piece of the puzzle that we don't ever hear. And even when we talk about it a little bit, when we stress test a business, you have to prepare for the inevitability of it all falling apart and all hitting the fan. And what are you going to do, whether you have crazy success? We talk about it all the time. What happened if we 10x your business overnight? That's the pressure test on the high side, but the pressure test on the bottom side is just the same way. If all of a sudden COVID happens and you have to shut down everything you normally do, how are you going to attack that problem? You have to train for and pressure test your business so that when you hit the fire, you're not having a reaction, but you just go back to the processes you put in place so that you can move forward in a positive way.
Scott, I'm glad you went there because I want to stay there for just a second. So the stress test is important. If an entrepreneur, whether you're a solopreneur or you are a multi-billion-dollar company, stress test is a real thing. And if you own or you have multiple employees, even if you have gone through a stress test personally or went through a stress test with us or Mount Everest with us, you still have to get your team involved because the captain of the fire department is much like the president of your company or the owner of the company. And if only the captain or the owner knows what's going on,
good.
It's hard to help people get to where you are. So then when you're in a panic situation, you're not only trying to tell them what to do, tell them how to do it, see all the points, whether if you brought people alongside of you, they did the stress test with you, then people are always looking to the left and right and front and back to see how to move forward. You're not white knuckling it. You're not making random decisions based on that that
Situation.
moment.
Yeah.
But think about it, Scott. Okay. And again, go back and watch some of our other podcasts because we talk about this. But we have been in situations where at the beginning of the year, the client has said, this is how we want to grow our business. And because money got tight or whatever, they threw spaghetti on the wall to try to make a lot of other things happen. When if they would walk, not pivot completely, but if you just make small tweaks instead of let's scrap that, let's move this. Well, now you've wasted time, resources, people. I mean, it gets crazy.
No, you're 100% right. And I think I love the conversation around ensuring that the people within the organization have an understanding of what to do and how they're going to react when it all hits the fan, because everybody's got a different personality, and that diversity of background and personality and family of origin is a superpower. We've talked about that at length, but it also creates a situation where if you're the business owner and you don't know your employees well enough to know how they're going to react in a given stress situation, you're setting yourself up for failure. So having those pressure tests that involve the entire team, not just the executive team, because that's very often where it comes down to, is the executive team is talking about how they're going to mitigate any kind of downside or upside stress and how we're going to do disaster recovery. But that never gets pushed down and never gets discussed with those folks in the trenches that are probably likely going to be the most affected by the stressor that's happening in your business. Let's get to know how our employees are going to act and react in a stress situation. Because very often, and we've all been in a situation where the person that we didn't think was going to buckle under the pressure does, and the person we think is going to buckle under the pressure doesn't and becomes the leader.
Right.
How much better would it be to understand who those people are and how they're going to react today when everything's going okay, and so waiting until tomorrow when it's all hitting the fan and you're trying to navigate the whole thing?
I'm all about leadership development. And if you are working on that with your team, if you are building trust, so a lot of times we put people in leadership positions where they really don't want to be in the position. And the people that are willing to be the leader, we overlook them because we have Johnny Joe over here. Johnny Joe is my friend, who has just been with the company for 1,000,000 years. And then when, it gets crazy or it gets stressful, Johnny Joe breaks down exactly like you just said, versus the other person is like, why don't we do this? So again, if you're talking that through, if you have the right people in the right bus, if you are strategically planning, when there's a hurricane, the people can step back and really embrace, there's going to be a hurricane. It's going to happen. But they can embrace and navigate through instead of jumping ship.
Yeah. Well, let's pivot a little bit and talk about how to think about this from a, God bless you, Stephanie Thomas. How does an owner navigate the immediacy of, because at the end of the day, the owner is going to feel the pressure more than everybody else because the buck stops with them. They are singular. Everybody in the organization is looking towards the leader saying, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? That creates a tension, even if you've pressure tested the business, that is more than just the everyday stressors.
But Scott, I think people ask that all the time and they want a cure-all. What do you do? What is your vision? What are you trying to solve?
But I think there's some fundamental things, tactical things that you can do.
I agree.
Because I agree with you. I think, before you get to the point where, let's use a real world example. You're running your business. There's a fire and it burns to the ground. You've got 50 employees. You still have clients that want stuff. How are you navigating what to do next? Or better yet, there's a hurricane coming towards your business. Let's use that analogy because this is something where you're actively participating in the storm at the time it's happening. One of the things that has been very helpful for me is that you start to think about doing everything slower. And you and I have experienced this together because there's been times where I'm like, just freaking out. And I'm like, okay, once you start doing everything at a slower pace and a quieter pace, it brings your anxiety down. Go ahead.
Scott, I think what you just said is a big deal. So I want to talk through it on my end. So first of all, as anxiety ramps up in your company, you need to understand how your leadership reacts. So you and I react very different, right? Which is very complementary to each other.
True.
I am immediately going to be like, everything is wrong. And
I
then,
have never experienced that.
Right. And then once I articulate to myself more than you, because all I'm doing is just making you stressed. But once I get it all out, then I am systematically, okay, Scott, we're doing this, we're doing that, we need to move this, we're taking care of this. Okay, which is very different from the way that you react to something. But if you and I had not worked together for as long as we've worked together, I am sure the first time I am like, this is all a mess, I probably stressed you out to the wazoo.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just, short answer is no, because that's how I used to react. Right? I mean, I didn't get this gray hair from just getting old, right? There was a time and a season in my life before I started the business, where I was feeling so much pressure that I'd go into work and I'd have chest pains and my hair was turning gray, like all kinds of bad stuff was happening. I had to work on my reaction to stressors and not own 100% of it. So once I started thinking and talking through, okay, how do I take my heart rate from like 170 down to like a normal range? Really doing everything quieter and slower, even to the point where I would write slower, or I'd type slower, I'd speak slower, I'd speak quieter.
Scott, you do that even when if we're in a group setting with someone that we're working with and they are red-faced, heated, stressed, I watch you. I mean, I just stop and I start coaching them through. You slow down. You make them kind of lean in to hear you, because it causes them to calm down. So that is great
Well, it used
advice.
to be the other way. It used to be the other way. I coached basketball for a while, and I was a screamer, and I was just like, and just like a raving lunatic. And what I found
then you had to coach girls.
Yes. That was the whole thing. Then I had a guys team where you could scream and yell at them and they just kind of whatever, because we're all, like rocks.
No, nothing sexist in that statement.
Well, I'm just saying,
okay.
Guys react differently than
Right.
girls. But then when I'd coached the girls team and I was coming out of the guys practice and going into the girls practice, if I even raised my voice an octave, and they were middle school girls, so they were emotional already. There was like a totally different visceral reaction. So I recognized, okay, the quieter I spoke and the calmer I spoke, like you said, the more they leaned in. I'm like, well, why would I scream and yell when all of a sudden the reaction is screaming and yelling back, and the entire conversations gets higher and higher and higher and nothing gets accomplished? Whereas when I speak lower and quieter and slower, there is a increase in listening and there's an increase in receptiveness because we're trying to de-escalate the situation.
I think to bring that back, what do you do in the middle of the hurricane? There's fundamental things that you're doing. You are looking at vision, looking at core values. You are modifying your personal behavior. You're setting your brain into a way that is thinking strategically, not desperation. And you bring someone alongside of you that is not in the middle of the hurricane with you. So, to use the hurricane analogy, or the fire department. Let's use both. I have a friend that her sole job is to, anytime there's a huge forest fire and they're calling in everybody, she sits back and she is looking from a different angle, and she's telling the firefighters, if you go here and you put this fire out, if you dump water here, if you're moving troops in this way. She is the outsider looking in, and all of a sudden the fire just gets a little
She's the
smaller.
911 operator.
Right.
Right? I mean, I had the unfortunate situation. It turned out fine, but I had the unfortunate situation of having a friend call me and saying, you need to take me to the hospital. I'm having a heart attack. And I called 911, and the person on the other end of the phone was as calm and as cool as you could be. And I'm thinking to myself afterward, in the middle of it, you're not thinking about it a whole lot, but afterward, you're thinking, okay, this poor person hears the worst scenarios 100% of the time. And their sole job, to your point, is to de-escalate, get the facts, and move forward. And I think as we think about ownership, everybody in the employee pool is looking at you going, how are you going to react to this current hurricane? And your reaction as the leader dictates how the team is going to react.
It's trust, right? So when it comes to your team, if you are running around like your hair is on fire, then they will start looking for a job. They will not trust the longevity of the company, or they will be, there's some psychological safety around how do they need to perform at this time. If you are, hey, we're in a struggle, and as a team, let's come together. And again, you don't have to think of everything.
No.
Even if you are a solopreneur, you can bring somebody from the outside to help talk you through.
Yeah, how many of our clients do we do that for?
Absolutely.
Every single one.
Well, they come to us. We would like for people to come to us
When it's
before.
not the hurricane. Yes, that would be helpful.
However.
That would be helpful. But I think that's where you have to have clarity of vision and understand the vast majority of what is perceived as a hurricane is not as bad as its perception of it is.
And that's where I was going when I said, I will flip out about something. Not really flip out. That's not a real thing. But let's say
You will react to
Right.
a current stressor,
that's
and you
really
want to immediately go from 0 to 100 in the fix. Whereas when we work together, our different personalities and our different ways to approach that allow us to say, okay, let's back up, understand what the disease is, not just a symptom, and let's attack it in a way that's systematic so that we don't get ourselves
right.
all stressed out.
So when you do that, and then I come alongside and say, okay, systematically, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this. We wake up and the problem has solved. So to solve your problems,
Yes, we are here to solve all your problems.
reach out to Silverback Ventures. But fundamentally, take a step back,
Yes.
take a deep breath, create a systematic plan so that you are intentionally growing your business, not accidentally growing your business.
And pressure test it on the regular. And not just the business, but the people. Understand who's going to react each way of that spectrum. Who's going to be the one that has the reaction and who's going to be the one that's calm in the middle of the storm, and build your team with both of those folks, because your ability to react but then immediately come up with a plan is super, super helpful. If you only had reactors, then you have nothing but chaos. So being able to have a balance of people that are going to react and people that are going to stay calm in the middle of the storm is a fundamental structure that you should have within your business.
Constantly working on your business while you're working in your business, living a life of purpose, on purpose. Make sure to like and subscribe us and come back and see us next time. Thank you for listening to the Changemakers Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, please help us grow our community by leaving us a review on Apple Podcast or rating us on Spotify.
You can also find our podcast on YouTube, so you can come and leave us a comment over there as well. If you want support growing your business and scaling your vision, visit us at silverbackventures.org or connect with us on LinkedIn.
Thanks again, and we'll see you on our next episode.